The teacher has one of the most critical roles when it comes to the raising of a child. First and foremost, the teacher should stimulate the curiosity of the child and help guide them towards learning. Learning can't be forced on a student that does not want to learn, so it's important to support the student in whatever direction they need to take to help them succeed. Similarly, a teacher must always be open to new ideas and strategies that will improve their students' success in the classroom. Teachers must be willing to work with their colleagues, both in their year and subject and outside of them, to see what strategies are available and effective at delivering learning to students. Teaching is a collaborative field, and a teacher should always be learning and growing so they can provide the best education to their students. As a new teacher myself, I want to be able to reflect on my current dispositions and work towards improving the ones I lack strength in. Of the professional disposition of learners, I believe that I have very strong foundations in respect for diversity, honesty, and dedication. Respect for diversity involves appreciating the differences in students and helping to create an environment of mutual respect and tolerance in the classroom. And I think that I do a good job of making sure that everyone feels safe and respected when they are in my class. Honesty involves being transparent with students with regards to classroom policies, as well as working to uphold those policies. And I always make sure that my students know exactly why I am making a certain decision or grade choice. Dedication involves putting oneself forward for engaging in school related activities and working to improve oneself in terms of teaching strategies. And I wouldn't be here if I weren't invested in improving as a teacher. Where I think I need to improve, especially, are in professional conduct and advocacy. As a young teacher, I'm not much older than my students, so sometimes I feel I may get too comfortable around my students, treating them more as younger siblings than as students. And it's important that I work to keep a more professional relationship with them to prevent any awkward or uncomfortable situations. In addition, while I don't think that I don't advocate for my students, sometimes I feel like I don't do enough to advocate, whether it be supporting students when they need assistance in the classroom or helping to shift bad behavior in certain students so they are more likely to succeed. Bias can also be really impactful in teaching as well, whether it be implicit or explicit. Implicit bias, where we're not even consciously aware of our prejudices, can hinder a whole group of students' opportunities for learning. For example, there is still a strong implicit bias against women as scientists, and so young girls are often particularly scrutinized in and ostracized from STEM classes. The AP physics class in my school, for example, is often a dozen boys and maybe one girl maximum. Explicit bias is equally dangerous as it can be directed towards a single student. If, for example, you're familiar with a student with a pattern of misbehaving, you may be predisposed to distrust them in your class and be suspicious of any good work they may produce. As educators, we're charged with maximizing the fairness of our classrooms by assessing our own biases and working to mitigate their effects. Inevitable as they are, we should work to reflect on them and eliminate them from our minds, because each student deserves a fair and accurate education that isn't weighted on their perceived potential. Regarding my own professional dispositions, I think one of the most important things that I can do to help uphold academic integrity is speaking to my students like peers rather than as subordinates. I know this kind of goes counter to what I said before about being more professional around students, but I don't think that the two are actually mutually exclusive. By being respectful of my students and being forthcoming with them about their education, I believe that I can help create a classroom environment that generates fairness, honesty, and compassion in my students. High schoolers aren't stupid, and they shouldn't be treated as such. They will know when a teacher looks down on them or doesn't care about their education, and they'll look to the teachers that respect them as mentors and guides for their future. Thank you for listening. My sources are listed both in the description of this video and in the document in which this link has been provided.